Welcome to episode 9. I posted my last episode of this podcast back in January of 2026. And today, the day I'm recording it and hopefully also posting it, is July 26th, 2026. I took an unintended pause, but it's been pregnant. In between time, something has been rumbling, reshaping, refining. And now I'm resurging with a reset to the podcast. So let me introduce myself and this conversation. Hey, friends. Hey, welcome to Your Business Book Bestie, a solo audio only podcast experience hosted by me, DeniseRenee. I am a multifaceted creative. I specialize in helping Gen X and Millennial professionals write books that tell their stories, share their frameworks, and grow their brand. This solo podcast is an invitation into the running conversation I'm always having in my head about creativity, writing books, building a brand, and any topics that even remotely relate. So grab a cozy beverage and let's chat. Part 1: The Pregnant Pause. So it may seem like I started this podcast in a blaze of glory 9 months ago in October 2025. And I did. I was so excited to get it started. The idea popped into my head, and I was really, really proud of myself for jumping on it and getting it started relatively quickly for me because I have a tendency to think about something, think about it, plan, think about it, plan, and never get something started or take years, literally years to get something started. So I was really proud of myself to be like, you know what? I want to do this. Boom, let's go. However, I wound up stopping the podcast unintentionally, and then it became a little bit more intentional. Before I decided to jump back out with the next episode, I really took time to think. So sometimes starting and stopping isn't what it seems because I was worried that, oh Lord, here we go again. Because your girl has a history of starting and stopping content creation, mostly sometimes when I feel a little aimless. But I have to say, I've kind of grown out of that. And nowadays, whenever I stop something, it happens to be more purposeful. It's pregnant. I like to call it a pregnant pause. It's counterintuitive. It's productive while seeming dormant. Something is developing beneath the surface that you can't see. And sometimes I don't even see it, at least not immediately. The pauses are sometimes initiated on pure instinct. I act and then I figure out what the meaning is later. And sometimes when birth or rebirth happens, it's just as intuitive, instinctive. But even when something new is birthed, it still has to be nurtured to maturity. So, what was the catalyst for this podcast's pregnant pause? Part 2: Conflicting Realities Complicate Creation. Yeah, say that a couple times back to back. Conflicting realities complicate creation. Listen, I'm a writer, okay? Leave me with my alliteration. All right? All right. So, part of what had me pause the podcast was just practicality. I have various obligations that I juggle. On the one hand, there's a system of life that we participate in. And on that hand, I have a W 2 job. On the other hand, I have a growing freelance business where, like I said in the intro, I'm doing freelance writing and editing for other people, other companies, other individuals. So I juggle those projects. Then I have my own creative projects that fight for my attention. And we're going to get into that soon, Joe. So, creating space also for people and the things that I love and just making time for talking to friends or hanging out with my son and, watching a show and staying on top of his reading, child. Lord have mercy. If you have a teenage boy who don't like to read, child, pray for me, okay? So, there's all of that that has to be juggled and still there's a space in my life that always craves serious attention. And I've realized in recent years that when I don't give it that attention, I really feel out of balance. I feel more chaotic than the different things that I juggle. And that is making space for creating just for the joy of it and not out of necessity. Because here's what I'm coming to really realize: everything isn't about, or everything doesn't have to be about monetization and brand building and giving value. I spent so much time. Some of my okay, here's the thing. In my family, my sister is 7 years older than me, and I have a cousin that I also grew up with who's 4 years older than me. When you are a child, 4 years is a huge difference. And seven, I mean, forget it. It's a world away. So when you know how older kids don't really want to play with the younger kids? Yeah, that was me. So I often played by myself, alone, which was absolutely fine with me. I have the temperament for that. And so as a child, I spent a whole lot of time alone. And when I was around 8 or so, discovered writing. I was always into reading, and then I just started creating my own stories. And then as I went into high school, I was writing more poetry. And I was also trying to learn how to play my favorite Gemini hologram songs on a toy Casio keyboard. So music was percolating in the background. And then in college, when I got access to real instruments, real pianos, I finally got a chance to learn how to play saxophone. And I had my hands on music theory classes. I had a lot of catching up to do, but man, oh man, I dove head first into music in college. Writing wound up getting relegated to whatever was mandatory for my English degree, and man, oh man, I was always in Olin Art Center, okay? I went to Bates College, and I lived in Olin Art Center. If I wasn't working the front desk, I was in a practice room. I was tinkering around on the piano. I was listening. I had, like, tapes of, jazz music that I had recorded as a kid. I fell into jazz music around the same time, like, I was, like, 8, 9, 10 years old. And I would record the radio and just have, like, just tapes and tapes and tapes, cassette tapes, okay, of, just different jazz music, and I would just, like, put it on in Olin, and I would try to play the saxophone line, or I would try to play the piano line, and I didn't know enough at that time, but just cutting my teeth on that and just trying to copy what I heard, it did so much for me. Oh my god, I cannot tell you the joy that I had of just, like, creating music, replicating music, and then I also, I think when I did decide to major in music, one of my classes was digital music. So we were learning how to use MIDI instruments and sequencing on the earliest DAWs, digital audio workstations. So this is in the 90s. I mean, Pro Tools is out and all that good stuff. So I was learning that stuff in college. And I just, just the hours and hours and hours of time that I just spent creating just for the joy of creating have been the happiest times of my life. But then, making time to create just for fun went by the wayside when I entered the world of work. Creativity turned into production, and production means outcome, results, money. And the pressure I felt to make what I create always be productive, I gotta tell you, that never feels fun. That's kind of how I recorded my first CD in my late 20s, and I kind of pitted out because I wound up losing my job maybe about a year or so afterwards. And then I was like, well, I wanted to be an artist, so let's go do this artist thing. And then when I just couldn't figure out my marketing and I just didn't have the money to, like, promote myself or anything like that, and things were just not popping off and my music was not producing, it really sucked the soul out of music for me. And I just went back into corporate America and I put music down for an extremely long time. So I know what that is to try to make your creativity work for you. And I promised myself I would never do that again with music. Music is just, I don't know, it just holds such a special place in my heart. Writing, is a little bit different for me. Writing, I can split my brain on writing, and there's one part of my brain where I could pimp out my writing. I don't care. I could pimp out my writing to the highest bidder, okay? As a copywriter, as an editor, whatever, what have you. There's a space in writing in my brain where I still have room to create what I want to create with writing, with whatever stories I want to create, whether it's fiction, nonfiction, what have you. This is an extremely cathartic episode for me, okay? So, I want to talk a little bit more about creating for creativity's sake. That's part 3. Everything doesn't have to be for monetization's sake. And I don't know if I'm saying that more so for you as I'm saying it for myself, okay? Monetize DeniseRenee, everything doesn't have to be about monetization. Okay. Creativity to me is like the definitive trait of humanity, and it's that trait that we get from God. I know everybody has different beliefs and everything's like that, but I'm gonna tell you how I believe. I believe I'm created in the image of a creative God. For me, that does not have a specific gender, but it is what it is. This is something I haven't really said publicly, but when I'm praying, I don't mind using they, them, because I just don't feel like God is all male or all female. I think we get our traits from God that we call male and female. And I think God is just above that. So, I'm not into like, the pronoun wars or anything like that. I do respect people's pronouns, but for me, like, I feel like I don't know. God is just bigger than our pronouns, but that's a whole other subject. And maybe one day on this podcast, I might talk about that. But anywho, yeah. So to me, creativity is the defining trait of humanity, especially in a world that feels like it is just careening towards the AIification of everything. Humans, we were put here to think and to create, okay? And I feel like that is getting squeezed out in the world of work with, these multi-billion dollar corporations just laying off people, not valuing people and wanting to replace them with AI, figuring it out it's not really working the way that they think it's going to work and then quietly hiring back maybe a fraction of those people. And it just feels it's leaving people feeling so devalued. So it's like the last thing that we have to do. And, this is whole conversation about universal, what do you call it? Universal, what do you call it? Oh, Lord. I didn't plan to speak about this, so it's not in my notes. Universal income, right? I think it's a horrible idea. But I mean, I understand why they're talking about it, right? So it's like, oh, well, if you just, your all your needs are being met, then what do? You create, okay? You create. But why do we have to wait for this, to me, dystopian world to come into position when we could create right now? So that's exactly what I do. And I have a content stack that's crazy. In fact, that's part 4. My content creation stack is contrary to conventional wisdom. So the things that I enjoy creating has expanded over the years. So I told you in my younger years, I was all into writing and all into music, and those things still have their place, obviously, in my life right now. But I've expanded. I found out that I love creating content, and I have lots of different hobbies and ideas and things that I'm interested in, and I create around those things. So I have a lot of creative outlets that I'm juggling. And right now, it's easy for me to express that in content creation. Like I don't have all of the music equipment that I need to have. I completely need to rebuild my studio from the ground up. So I haven't really been creating music the way I would love to create music for years now. So that impetus that lights me up for creating music, I found an outlet in creating content. And so, like I said, I have these different outlets for it. And I juggle these creative outlets because I want to. And also because I do want some of that creative output to become productive, AKA produce money on a consistent basis so that it sustains my life so that I don't have to juggle a traditional job. I just want to create content, music, books, writing, videos, all of the things. And I want to create in multiple genres. So here's what my current content stack that I'm juggling looks like. First of all, I have two websites. I have my main website, Writing with DeniseRenee. That's where I conduct my freelance business out of. But I recently reinstated my website, Meet Denise Renee. Right now, it's just a single page that links out to some things, but I will be building that out more in the coming weeks and months. I have two blogs. So I have a blog on my main writing channel, Writing with Denise Renee, and I will be building out a blog on my personal brand channel, meetdeniserenee.com. I have an email list, of course, for my Writing with Denise Renee, but I'm going to be building out an email list for the Meet Denise Renee as well. And that's just going to be like the catch-all umbrella for all of the other things that I, love to do and love to create. I have 4 YouTube channels. Call me crazy. It's okay. I call me crazy too. But I have my Writing with Denise Renee YouTube channel. I have my It's Denise Renee YouTube channel for my personal brand. I have my Learning DIY Nails channel. Did you know that your girl loves to do her own nails? Go ahead over, type in Learning DIY Nails in the YouTube search bar and you'll find me. All right. And then I also have my Wellness with Denise Renee channel. And that's something I've wanted to have a wellness brand for years. I started like, oh my God, I had another brand back in 2012, 2011, 2012, a long time ago. But I abandoned that and I'm just trying to dip my toes back into that. It's the least on my priority list, but it's there. It's there. Now I have 2 podcasts. I have this podcast, the Your Business Book Bestie podcast, and I have the Sell Your Book podcast, which I did 13 episodes towards the end of 2024. And I intentionally put it on hiatus in 2025. I meant to pick it back up in 2026, but I have a specific plan for that. So that's percolating. I'm working on the plan, so it'll come back in 2027. So yeah, that's all of that. And yes, on top of a W-2 job, on top of the freelance projects that I take on, the freelance editing and writing projects that I take on, and on top of, yes, I have a son, and yes, I have family and all that kind of good stuff. So if you think it's insane, you're in good company. I think so too. And if you're wondering, girl, how do you have time for all of that? The answer is I don't. I just figure it all out. Okay. Not everything gets priority all at once. I can't do everything everywhere all at once. That movie, right? I can't do all of that, obviously. And I operate everything by myself. I have no team. I maintain my own websites. I do my own editing for my videos and my audio and all that kind of stuff. Oh, by the way, I went to audio engineering school back in 2003. Yeah, when I lost my job and I was on my starving artist bid. I was in audio school. Yeah. So everything is all me. It's all my time and sweat equity. I don't have the budget for hiring help or stacking AI tools and software subscriptions. And I have separate YouTube channels because I can't put everything into one channel. That I tried that before and it didn't work. And you'll probably think I'm even crazier because none of these channels are quote unquote monetized. They're not, YouTube monetized, except for the Writing with Denise Renee channel, which I would consider it monetized because it does help me bring in clients. It really, really does. I get people booking consultations and people who book services with me, and or what happens is people will refer me and then they'll say, oh, well, check out her YouTube channel. So they have watched quite a number of my YouTube videos before they're like, okay, I'm going to book a call with her. She knows what she's talking about. And usually when they book that call and they're like, yeah, I've been watching your YouTube channel for a while. Yeah, I'm ready to go. I'm like, well, amen. So my YouTube channel definitely, while it's not pulling in a huge amount of leads yet, but it is definitely helping with my sales cycle for sure. So it is a lot to juggle. And most gurus would look at that and say, well, you should just double down, triple down on your writing with DeniseRenee, forget everything else, put all of your attention 100% into monetizing that YouTube channel, growing your email list, growing the business. And then, after 2, 3, 4 years and you get to where you want to be, then you can invest time into your other passions. And I say no. And here's why. My interests are varied, and expressing myself in all of these different ways keeps me fulfilled, even if it doesn't look like it's quote unquote successful. No, I don't have large audiences on these channels. No, I don't have large, copious amounts of money flowing in from these channels to the point where I can quit my day job just yet and my good health insurance. The thing is that if I just focus on just one thing, I'm only focusing on my writing and making it produce, that will leave me miserable and resentful. And the other thing is that so having these other outlets like doing my nails or giving cultural commentary on my personal channel or what have you, having these various outlets keeps me sane. It gives me that place in that space where I just get to create just for the fun of it. Yes, I do wanna see these channels monetized, but it's like if I don't get started I mean, you have to always start somewhere. And I'd rather start and work on things and, express myself and experiment while, no one's looking, so to speak. I mean, people are looking, obviously, but it's not high stakes. It's not at a point where, oh my gosh, if I say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing, I'm canceled and I lose a whole bunch of subscribers and lose supporters and lose brand deals and da 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 da. You know, so I love where they are at, even though, yes, I would love for them to be, all monetized by YouTube. I'd love to be making a full-time income just from YouTube income alone. That'd be great. But, if I keep working on it, I'll get there. And there's so much value, like I said, in just trying, experimenting, growing your strength, figuring out your voice, figuring out your style. You need those early days. I mean, one of the biggest and most successful monetarily creators on the platform is arguably Mr. Beast. His early videos were terrible, right? It took him years and years and years to build up to where he is. He did not start off with hosting Beast games. Okay? He didn't start off with recreating an entire daggone show. What was that? Squid Games? OMG. Like, who in the world would ever think to do that? And, so he didn't start there. I remember seeing this like clip of him he did a video where he counted to 1 million or something like that. And it took him a couple hours to do so. What? But, in those early days, he just threw a whole bunch of things at the wall and figured out what stuck. So, and he did it on one channel. Now, I'm doing these things on different channels and I'm okay if they grow at different paces. Is it a lot to juggle? Yes. But I juggle it because it gives me joy. Okay. And because I have to, circulate things around, I have to, juggle my time between the W-2 job and the client projects and things like that. I tend to work on things in a circular pattern, which actually works for me as a creative. Like there's one part of my brain that's super organized in details and I can get things done when I'm ready. But then there's another part of my brain that just loves to go with the flow. And this kind of taps into that side of my brain where I'm just like, you know what? If I feel like working on nail content, then boom, I'm going to knock out a couple of nail content videos. But that means that a podcast is not being worked on right now. Or it's like, oh, you know what? I need to put out a blog post. So let me sit down and, work on this blog post today. So that means that I'm not working on a video if I'm working on a blog post. So for me, as long as I give each of these things their attention, and because they're not monetized, they don't have big audiences, so I don't have people, with high expectations from me, I can have a like a loosey-goosey schedule, so to speak. Am I hurting myself by not being 100% consistent and, posting at the same time? Maybe, but again, right now, I'm not doing this for the monetization of it all. I'm doing it right now just for the personal growth of it all. I'm doing it right now for the joy of it all. And, I'm just leaning into embracing that, what? I have a very unconventional and unique and creative way to approach things and approaching my schedule and approaching how I deal with my time. I know it frustrates some of my friends and family when I'm not always like available, in the moment when they want to, talk or have a conversation or hang out or something like that. I have to schedule. Like if it, I got to put you on the schedule and be like, look, this is the time where I can talk live. Otherwise, please Marco Polo me. Okay. I love asynchronous conversations because I can get to them when I'm ready to get to them. But everybody's not like that, and I understand that. I respect that. So I just hope that people give me the same respect and just understand that my brain works a little bit differently. And the biggest thing for me is it's the joy of it. It's the fun of it, and it's the personal growth of it because again, if I don't try something, I don't know what I'm going to really like or what I'm going to want to stick to or I can't imagine something bigger or better. You just got to start. And that kind of brings me back around to what birthed this pregnant pause in the first place. So let's get into part 5. Did I tell you what part 4 was? Now that I'm I'm all into it. Um yeah, part 4 was my content creation stack is contrary to conventionalism. Okay, yeah, we just went through that. All right. So, now we're at my 5th and final part. Part 5. What I birthed during my pregnant pause. The B side. So, this is my last and final point here, and we're going to land the plane, so to speak, and bring it on home. Have you ever heard of the B side of an album? Now, yes, you have to go back in the day. I know that vinyl never really died, and it's definitely having a resurgence. But, back in the day when vinyl was the preferred medium and the predominant medium for selling music, you would have the A side of the album that would have all of the radio hits, all of the really popular songs for that artist. But then the B side, that was like the deep cuts. Not everybody knew all of the B side songs because they weren't pushed on the radio, so they weren't the popular ones. But if you are a true fan of a particular artist, baby, you knew all them B-sides. And it was like the treasure trove for a true fan of any particular artist. It was, that the B-side is it. Okay. It's that space for the artist's deep cuts. Well, what I birthed during my pregnant pause is that this podcast, the Your Business Book Bestie podcast, this is going to be my B side. It's going to be a place where I can let out my thoughts about creating, about writing, and everything that relates that's either on the nose or it could be an obtuse reference and that I want to go run wild with. Okay. In some way, shape, or form, if I want to talk about it in this space, I'm going to talk about it in this space. And this is me giving myself permission to do so in public without worrying about production, without worrying about, is this podcast getting me more subscribers? Is this podcast positioned for brand deals? Is this podcast, I have it on its own YouTube channel. Is it growing subscribers? Is it getting monetized? I'm not worried about it. If that happens, great. But honestly, I'm positioning this as, like I said, the B side for those handful of people that be paying attention to all of my videos and all of my emails. And there's a handful. Okay. I see y'all. Y'all be clicking every week. And I thank you for that. I really do thank you for that. So the Your Business Book Bestie podcast is going to become that place where I can go deeper. I can share on topics that, like I said, are maybe a little bit more obtuse. It may not always be about giving value for the, for the sake of writing and self-publishing, but it's going to have some kind of relation to that. It's definitely for that, like I said, that handful of you who really do follow my content faithfully. I know others will join you as I go on my journey, but for right now, it's for y'all because I really do push myself every week to say, girl, you promised people that you're going to send out this email at 5 a.m. on Monday mornings. I'm gonna need you to send this email out on Friday morning. You're gonna figure out something to say. If you have not posted a video, if you gonna figure it out, girl. Okay, you're gonna say something to these folks because they're counting on you, and you guys really are. The handful of you really are. And for the rest who don't open up every single email, I'm not offended because I do the same thing. I'm on a crap ton of email lists, and I don't necessarily open up every single email. But I do love that the people that I want to hear from, they are showing up in my inbox regularly. And every now and then, when there's a subject line that catches my eye, I open it up and I check out and I see what's going on. I may respond back depending on who it is, if like I have a personal relationship with them or not, or whatever, what have you. But yeah, so it's for y'all. It's for me and it's for you. So straight value giving is going to be what happens on my Writing with DeniseRenee YouTube channel. But this is gonna be the space, Your Business Book Bestie. We're gonna have bestie conversations up in here, all right? And it's gonna be that space where you get to learn a little bit more about how I think and who I am, and a space and place for you to conversate with me. Now I'm gonna get on my soapbox just a little bit. Because I often get people talking to me in my real life. Well, whether it is they um have signed up for a consultation with me, or it's a friend or a colleague or what have you in this content space, in the business space, and we'll be having a conversation. And then they're like, yeah, because you said on that video, da, 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 da. And I'm like, well, how in the world was I supposed to know that you watched my video? You ain't leave a comment, you ain't leave a like, but you watch it. So I really want to say, I don't know. I think there's something, I don't know. It's human nature, I guess. It's so easy for people to be keyboard warriors when they're angry about something and they have something negative to say. But it seems so difficult to get people to say something positive or an affirmative. Like something could really deeply move you and people don't comment. I do. I am such a big commenter. If something really moves me, I let that creator know, no matter what platform I'm on. So please, by all means, if any of my conversations or any part of my conversations move you, please do go ahead and if you're on my email list and you want to email me back personally, that comes straight to me. If you want to leave a public comment, that is so helpful to help my content reach other people when we engage in the comments. It's so very helpful. So please, if there's anything that really moves you, I'd love to hear from you. This is not Yes, I'm literally sitting in my closet recording this because it's the quietest place in my house. So yes, I'm monologuing over here, but it's really, I don't imagine this as a monologue. I'm not just talking to hear myself talk. I know that people share share some of my thoughts. So I'd love to hear back. Or you know what? Hey, even if you disagree or whatever, I want to hear that too. We don't have to always agree, but we can't always be respectful, right? Amen. So please and by all means, feel free to comment back. Please like the video. Share it if you're like, hey, wow, this was really profound. And I was having a conversation with another friend a couple days ago. I think they really need to hear this conversation. Share it with them. I would be so appreciative. And I would say that my goal on this podcast is not going to be 100% frequent. My goal is to do at least 2 podcast episodes a month and 2 videos a month on the Writing with DeniseRenee YouTube channel. So the best way to know when I'm creating content and when that's posting, the best way to stay in the loop is to be on my email list and to get email notifications about anything that I'm creating. So to get on my email list, please do go to writingwithdeniserenee.com, scroll to the bottom of the page, and you will see where you can enter your email address. So please do look out for me in your inbox around 5 a.m. Eastern next Monday morning with the latest thing I've created. And this podcast will definitely have another episode within the next 2 weeks because I've already scripted it and I'm going to record it and we're going to edit it. So when it comes out, I want to be the first to let you know. Jump on that email list, writingwithdeniserenee.com, scroll to the bottom of the page and put in your email address. And whatever comments you have, whatever thoughts you have about creating for creating's sake, please let me know in the comments of this video. And I will see you guys in the next one.